Hi, my name is Veen Sacrosanct from Causenation, and welcome back for another update on the pre-production process of the new Causenation album. This is already the 5th update and I'm still working on the same song called Captain in the Sky, and today I will show you how I record a simple pad melody into the Roland Mc-300. Hello everyone, I hope you are doing marvelously well today. In the previous video we looked at the Roland Mc-300 and how I use it in my studio and in my productions as a means to record MIDI information as a sequencer, and how I've linked it up with Cubase, which is my main DAW. Actually, it's my only DAW, but anyway. So I've been working further on the same song over the weekend and I found a nice melody that goes very well with the bass line, and I would like it to record on one of the Mc-300's tracks. But as you know, the Mc-300 is connected to my MIDI interface and it receives a clock signal coming from my DAW. This means that the MIDI input of the Roland already is occupied, making it impossible to connect my MoFo keys. So I have to go around this problem and use some sort of a deroute. And I know, I could just unplug it from the MIDI interface and plug in the MoFo keys and have it recorded directly into the Mc-300. But to make things interesting, I did it another way. The way I'm going to record the MIDI information into the Mc-300 without having it disconnected from the clock signal coming from Cubase is by routing the MoFo's MIDI through my MIDI interface, have it record into Cubase, and then play the recorded MIDI track while the Mc-300 is set to real-time recording. We also need to set up a few things in Cubase. First of all, we need a MIDI track, and then we are going to select the correct MIDI input by clicking on the Input Routing menu in the Inspector tab, and there we need to select the correct MIDI input for the MoFo keys, which in this case is MIDI input number 8. Also notice that the MIDI track is set to channel 13, which is the same as set on the MoFo keys. When this is done, I simply press a key on the MoFo to check if MIDI information is coming into the MIDI track, and as you can see, it is doing just that. Now we are all set to record the MIDI information coming from the MoFo, and we can start playing the melody which we want to record.
A shadow shall fall over the universe, and evil will grow in its path, and death will come from the skies.
Now that the MIDI notes are recorded in Cubase, it is time to send these to the Mc-300 so it can record the melody on one of its tracks. The Mc-300 has 4 tracks and track 1 and 3 are already used, so I will record the melody on track number 2. But first we need to change a few things in Cubase in order to send the MIDI information to the Mc-300. We need to go back into the inspector of the MIDI track and select another source for the MIDI output. As I explained earlier in the video, the Mc-300 is connected to my MIDI interface on output port number 3. This is a physical connection, which means I have to use a MIDI cable connected to the correct output port of my MIDI interface and on the MIDI input of the Roland Mc-300. So in the MIDI output routing menu under the Inspector tab, we are going to select port number 3. We can leave the input as is, but just to be sure, I'm going to select the not connected option for that. I will leave the MIDI transmit channel on number 13, since this is shared by the MOFO keys, and I can still change that on the MC300 once it is done with recording, if I need to. So we are done setting everything up in Cubase, and now it is time to prepare the MC300 to record the MIDI melody. So back to the MC300 then. To make sure we record the MIDI melody the correct way, we need to take a few things into consideration. As I said before, the song I'm working on starts with a time signature of 5 quarters, and from the 5th bar it changes to 4 quarters. If I don't want any trouble with the recorded information on the MC300, I therefore need to make sure that I record the melody on bar number 5. And the reason why I need to do this is because the melody also is in 4 quarters. Now, how are we going to make sure the MC300 will record the melody on bar 5 and on track number 2? This is how you do it. As you can see on the display, the word MIDI is blinking. If we want to change the measure where we want the MC300 to start recording, we need to change the number on the left side of MIDI. We can do this by using the arrow keys and navigate to that position on the display. Once there, we need to select the correct measure or bar by pressing number 5 on the keypad and, this is very important, hit the Enter button. If you don't hit Enter, the MC300 will change back to the first bar from the moment you navigate to another position in the display. So make sure you hit the Enter button if you want to change the measure or bar. Now we need to change the track where we want the MC300 to record the melody. By pressing the right arrow key 3 times, we'll go to that position and change it from 1 to 2. We hit Enter again and press the Record button. And because our MC300 is set as a slave, it will go into standby mode, waiting to receive a start signal from Cubase. If we then hit the Start button in Cubase after we place the cursor on bar number 5 in the project window, the MC300 will start recording the melody. Okay, let's hit Start in Cubase and see if everything works like it's supposed to be. When the MC300 is finished recording, you can see that the red light above track 2 is lit, which means that this track contains MIDI data. Now, in order to have the melody play in sync with the song, we need to quantize it, and to do this, we need to go into Edit mode and select option 9, which is the quantize option. Once there, we need to punch in which track we want to quantize, so we press key number 2 and hit Enter. We select 13 as the MIDI channel and hit Enter again. Now we need to set the resolution or the rhythmic value. For this melody, I will select 1/8, which is this icon on the display. I can change the value using the jog wheel. After setting the correct value, I press enter again. This takes us to the next menu, where we need to set from which measure or bar the quantizing needs to start, and it is already set to bar number 5, so we simply press the enter button. Now we need to punch in for how many bars we want to quantize, and since this is an 8-bar melody, we enter 8 as an input and press enter once more. Now we only need to select on which track we are going to place the quantized information, and for now I will use track number 4. When we press the record button, the MC300 will quantize our melody and bounce it directly onto track 4. And as you can see, the red light above track 4 is lit, which means the procedure is done. Let's see if we succeeded with the recording of the MIDI melody. For this I went back from MIDI clock to internal clock, which means the MC300 is currently not set to slave but to master. This is just to let you hear if everything is done correctly. So let's have a listen. So this concludes the video for now. I hope you liked it, and if you did, please consider subscribing to my channel. Also make sure you hit the notification bell below, this way you won't miss any of the future updates. It was nice seeing you guys. My name is Veen Sacrosanct, and remember, keep on grinding, keep on making music, and do what you love to do. See you next time, and cheers.